calls, no messages. Nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Wednesday edition here of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That'll get you into the studio for two-way talking conversation, and I am using the text line today, which means you can text the show in real time like you would anyone else. You just text 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. It appears on a screen here in the studio in real time. We try to work it into the conversation, try to not to write a book, a text. You know what a text is. A few sentences at max. All right. We do stream 24/7 to the TuneIn app. So that means you can take us anywhere. I love that feature. Tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do that. No questions asked. Pretty good. Now, I do stream my show whenever I'm on, whether it's from the palatial but not overly ostentatious studios in Westboro or from the Cameo studios, meaning the Cameo Cam is on Twitch and LinkedIn profile, as well as X, Facebook, and Rumble. And, of course, to the station's YouTube channel and Facebook page. So multiple ways to watch, multiple ways to listen. And the show, of course, is turned into a podcast, which can be, subscribed to wherever you get your podcasts, right? iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. You kind of know the drill on that. Today, back at HQ, behind the glass fly on the board. So he'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talking conversation by simply calling that 508-871-7000 number. So easy to do this. You know the drill every day, right? Yesterday was kind of cool because and I'm talking about Mark Wayne Mullen, all right, sworn in, new DHS secretary in the Oval Office yesterday. And after, 3 weeks ago, I think it was, where Trump said, okay, Christie, thank you so much. Back to the farm or whatever she's going to do. She'll probably end up on 5 or 6 board of directors and stuff. I'm not worried about Christy Noem's future in any way, shape, or form here. So Mark Wayne Mullen, sworn in, Oval Office, Trump praising him, of course, saying that he's fantastic. Everybody wanted this job. I said there's one man for this job, and I have no doubt he's going to be fantastic. That's what Trump said. So that's it. He has a record, right? A good record, a high school wrestler, MMA fighter, lawmaker from Oklahoma. And here's the thing, which doesn't, and none of these get a lot of attention. Mark Wayne Mullen is a Native American. And a lot of people might not know that. He's Cherokee Nation. So he is a member of the Cherokee Nation. He is recognized as a Native American. He is the first Native American U.S. Senator in nearly 2 decades. And quite honestly, I mean, I thought we would have a steady diet of Native Americans from that area, Oklahoma, Wyoming, just North Dakota. Just why? Why don't we? That's crazy that we don't, but it is. So Mark Wayne Mullen, citizen of the Cherokee Nation, one of the largest Native American tribes in the United States. Not very old man. He was only born in 1977, Tulsa, Oklahoma, raised in Westville, Oklahoma, youngest of 7 children in his family. Here's the thing. From what I can find in research, he's the first Native American in a presidential cabinet. And then I look back and I say, media didn't really talk about the fact that they tried to pretend Joe Biden had the first openly gay high-level person in the cabinet. But Trump had Rick Grinnell, and now he's Bessett. So Trump, again, these accusations that Trump is this fascist, racist, bigot person, he's not very good at it, if that's true. Long before he became president, he had females and people of color and different ethnicities, directors and presidents of some of his businesses. Trump doesn't care who you sleep with or what color your skin is. What he cares about is your education, your abilities. Can you get the job done? And not that I'm saying he proves that, because he didn't set out to prove that. It's just the fact. It's just the track record, decades of his behavior. One of the first things he did with, these clubs, right? He would either buy or buy and redevelop these golf clubs and country clubs. And the ones that had the ban on Jewish people would lift them immediately. He was the guy that called the FBI back in the day, 2008, to say, hey, you got this creep down here, Jeffrey Epstein. I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was targeting one of my members' daughters. The rumor down here, the word down here is, this is what the guy's like. Banned him from Mar-a-Lago and called the FBI on him. So is Trump in the Epstein files? You betcha sweet tookus he is, but not in the way the Democrats would like you to think he is. So Mark Wayne Mullen, first Native American in a cabinet like this at that level. Cherokee Nation, the Cherokee Nation, right? So he's noted as being the first Native American U.S. Senator in 2 decades. Highlighting that role, representing indigenous interest in Congress. He engaged very much with tribal leaders. He understands the complexity of tribal sovereignty and government relations. So well done to Mark Wayne Mullen. Well done to President Trump. And congratulations to the Native American glass ceiling, if you will. Fantastic. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Hey, the other thing breaking before I'm coming on, I didn't initially plan to talk about it, but because these verdicts are in, this whole Meta thing. So verdict is in. Meta has been ordered to pay New Mexico $375 million in that verdict. It paves the way now for more states to look at these social media companies under the guise of child protection and demand changes about, online privacy and speech. In the lawsuit, New Mexico authorities, they accused Meta, this was the crux of this, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Everybody used to love WhatsApp, right? Before Meta bought it. Because everybody had a sense of privacy and that they had this encrypted communications. And so people were probably, I'm not talking about because government, the United States government has used WhatsApp and Signal and other things. But we always had this feeling that was pretty good. So I think a lot of people probably spoke to each other in text, maybe, the way they wouldn't want their mother to see, and exchange pictures and so forth. And then Meta buys it. And I've noticed talking to, because I have friends around the globe who this is a major app that people use, have moved to other platforms because they don't feel that it's as secure and as crypted and safe as WhatsApp always was thought to be. And as much as Meta claims it, they really think Meta is looking at it. They don't have a good reputation in that way. So the lawsuit says, New Mexico says, hey, where the accusation of Meta, the parent company of Facebook and those, violating the state's Unfair Practices Act. States accusing tech platforms of violating consumer protection laws. And it kind of been trendy lately. I think it's late to the party as far as I'm concerned. Look, Section 380 and all that, I understand. in 98. In the 90s, when the internet was coming into maturity, it was an infant in the 90s, right? And in those days, the universities had the internet going on, and they had the T1 lines and things of that nature and secure, and it started breaking out. And it doesn't fall under FCC. I see all the time, whether it's on MSN Now or whatever they call themselves, or CNN or one of the three legacy networks, aggravated about something. A story breaks about a child who was groomed and stalked online, and why are we cracking down? The FCC should do. FCC doesn't have any authority over the internet, just for the record. FCC, Federal Communications Commission, is tasked with terrestrial signals, TV, radio stations, and a few other things, but not the internet. We don't really have anything that governs the internet, and that's probably why it's grown to what it's at. And it's as useful as it is. The fact that we use it to look at cat videos is on us, not on the internet itself, right? So the FCC doesn't govern that. But they created that Section 380 back in the day, Congress did, because they said, well, we can't let people sue them out of existence, whatever they were. Facebook was, I don't even know what year Facebook. It was not long after that, around there, right? It was originally just for college students. You had to have a .edu on your email to sign up. And it was originally developed to rate the girls on campus, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the Section 380 was put in there to say, well, we're going to do something to take the liability off this new fantangled thing. Otherwise, they'll get sued out of existence before the internet can even get off the ground. We're long overdue to either retract Section 380 or withdraw it altogether, because they have to decide, are we a platform or are we a publication? All right, I'm against the wall in this. We have to take our first break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. It's 508-871-7000. Hey, we'll be back in 2 minutes, 10 seconds, folks. Stick with us.
Blue Sox 26 is here, and tickets for opening day and April and May are on sale now. The Blue Sox are ready to launch their 5th anniversary season on Friday, March 27th, and rocket to new heights. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888. Get your tickets today.
Life is busy and mealtime shouldn't be a burden. Heart to Home Meals makes it easy to stock your freezer with delicious chef-prepared meals designed with seniors in mind. Choose from over 150 options, including hearty favorites and lighter choices. Then simply heat and enjoy when you're ready. No subscription, no minimum order, no hidden fees, and delivery is always free, brought right to your door by local drivers. Heart to Home Meals, more time enjoying life, less time worrying about dinner.
Have you noticed past the age of 30, your energy level, mood, skin, and body has changed and maybe not for the better? It may have to do with DHEA levels. DHEA is an important building block for more than 50 different hormones, and the body naturally produces DHEA. We make the most DHEA in our prime, between the ages of 18 and 25. DHEA levels decline each year in men and women after about age 30. Research has established that maintaining healthy DHEA levels may help us feel more energetic, help reduce belly fat, and help us to get a better night's sleep. Often youthful levels of DHEA are tied to good health, while declining levels can contribute to an assortment of common health problems. Twist 25 is a high-quality DHEA supplement cream that absorbs easily into the skin, leaving no odor or oily residue. To learn more, visit www.twist25.com or call toll-free 888-489-4782. Look your best, feel your best with Twist 25. 888-489-4782.
All right, folks, welcome back here. Second segment on the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Don't forget to always check us out at WCRNradio.com, where you can find all of the profiles of the hosts and shows there, as well as our replay link, which is fantastic. That just simply means within a minute or two of a show getting off the air, if you go to WCRNradio.com, you're going to be able to see this replay link. And if you click it, it opens another page and it populates with that show that just got off the air. And then down, you know, if it's a daily show, like if you go there now, you'll see yesterday's show. And there's, you know, then actually no, you'd have to go to Peter Blute because I filled in for Peter Blute, but go back to Thursday. You get the point. So you can listen to a show that aired when you get home from work or on the way home from work. You can stream it. You can also even download an MP3 file of the show. So that's a feature I want to remind folks that WCRNradio.com has. It's pretty good stuff. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Before I move into other subjects, let's go to the phones because Mark's waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
I hear that a combat brigade, I don't know what they consist of nowadays, maybe over at least 1,000 men, have been activated and deployed, but nobody seems to know where they're going. Where do you think they're going? And then I'll tell you where I think they're going.
I'm assuming. I thought that we had a few thousand Marines headed over towards the Gulf. No, I thought that was a report I saw somewhere.
Well, they're on their way there now from San Diego. It's one of the Marine Expeditionary Force. I don't know what the number of it is.
Well, the 82nd Airborne.
But I'm talking specifically about the 82nd Airborne Division.
Yeah.
They have sent a combat brigade to the Middle East. They've already on their way. They have been deployed. But the Pentagon has not released yet to the press where they are going. And I'm saying to you, where do you think they're going? And then I'll tell you where I think they're going.
I think they're headed to the Middle East to deal with maybe Krug Island or anything else that might pop up.
What's the name of that island you just mentioned?
Krug
Island. That's that's
it's the 5 Mile Island. Yeah, off Iran that they used to ship out on.
Yeah, and they got all kinds of refineries there and all kinds of pumps and pipelines and refineries. In other words, it's the heart of their export of oil. It's
where they fill the tankers up.
It's the main hub where it's the gas station.
Exactly.
And we're going to take it over.
Yep. Yep. And that's why. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the call. And that's why Trump was very clear about the fact that don't bomb that. He told his admirals and generals, don't bomb the pipeline. That's been built over a long time. It costs a lot of money. If we blow that up, it's going to take years to rebuild it. And you don't think Trump is already several paces ahead that he can see us controlling that? And the pipes go under the sea there, and it pulls it in from Iran, the mainland, and it's a depot. Mark had a good description. It's the gas station. That's where tankers just pull up to Krug Island. They fill up the tankers. They get out through the strait, and they're good to go. That's how that works. That's where I think they're going. A quick look at this brigade combat team. Major General Brandon Tegemeyer, Division Commander and Division Staff. Tuesday, condition of autonomy to discuss sensitive military plans or private conversations. At least 1,000 troops from this 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East in the coming days. Middle East, kind of big area, but I think it, just common sense says pretty good chance it's going to Krug Island. Probably there, because we're going to just control the gas pump. So Answer the question. That's where I think it's headed. I think that was always a plan somewhere along the line that was going to have to happen. So along those lines, oil has fallen below $100 on rising hopes that this Iran war bit has broke through. Trump talked about, and this is kind of fun, they sent a gift. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It wasn't nuclear, but it has to do with gas and oil. I don't know. Okay. First thought I have on this, that's kind of odd. We're bombing the hell out of your country. We eliminated your entire leadership in the first strike. You kind of formed together real quickly a second tier to promote them to, and we wiped them out. Then you're on to your third one. No one's seen the son, or what, I guess. He could be alive in a coma. They say he lost a leg, whatever the case is. And you send a gift. And I think what Trump was trying to say is, and he said these words, I think we're talking to the right people now. And they sent something, which he hasn't let us know what it is, but he clearly must take it as a good indication that, yeah, okay, we got it. You know, first there was a report that, no, we're not going to have any we agreed nothing nuclear. Then that's been retracted. But here's the thing, and I touched on this yesterday. Why does the American media keep falling for the lies from Iran? They literally, I mean, they put out that video, the video of the USS Abraham on fire. They lied about their distance ability, about how much uranium they've enriched. They just, and when you get to Islam allows, it's in the Quran, it's in the religion. They're actually very much allowed to lie to non-Muslims. It's actually encouraged to use lies and deception to get in the door, right? That's a whole nother show to talk about. So why does the American media keep putting what Iran says over our intelligence, our presidents, and our chiefs of staff, Secretary of War? You get the gist here. So oil dropping below $100 a barrel in the market. I'm telling you one thing very clear, right? Traders, oil's a commodity. Commodities are always based on futures, right? You're not talking about what's already in the tanks at the gas stations or what's at the refineries. When you look to oil and gas, you're always looking at the replacement cost. Something happens, and yeah, sure, the price of the gas at the pump goes up immediately. Bad news about oil comes in, you see the guy out there changing the sign because he's already paid for the gasoline that's in the tank. He's looking, or she's looking, the gas station or the company that owns it, is what is it going to take to replace those tanks? When I go to buy 3,000 gallons to put in the ground here outside my little mart, it's going to cost me so much more. So it's future. So traders believe there is at least a chance that this war with Iran does not spiral further out of control. And I chuckle at those who thought this was going to be this long-term, elongated type of conflict, another Afghan type of thing. Not under this president. Not under the president. He has asked the questions. This is what we got to accomplish, even if he doesn't share everything with us that he wants to accomplish. What are the steps, and how do we get out of this, and how do we not lose anybody the best possible chance? That's just the way he is. So that Epoch Times reports that Brent crude fell below the $100 mark in trading yesterday. Prices in the mid-90s. Investor sentiment improved. Saw that in the market. It hopes that U.S.-led diplomatic push could produce some kind of breakthrough here. And it goes on in this article to say the optimism centered on the Trump administration's effort to end the conflict diplomatically, even as Iran publicly denied negotiations were underway. But anybody with a functioning IQ and some common sense knows, of course, it's standard procedure for Iran to deny it, almost knee-jerk, if you will. Now, that's the headline. But the deeper story is this, that markets are not celebrating peace. Markets are pricing in the possibility of less chaos. And I think Middle East is always going to be some kind of controlled, muted type of chaos. We're never, there's always going to be that internal strife in the Middle East and tribe against tribe, and of course the religious aspect of it. And looking at and thinking, okay, this is a possibility of less chaos. That's a very different thing than peace. And it's reported that the United States had floated a 15-point peace initiative, and I'm going to get into that too, to Iran, and that helped knock oil down about 4%. Brent oil went down to about $100.53 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate near, 88.75. So the conflict has choked off much of the normal flow through the Strait of Hormuz. But remember, this doesn't really affect us. But it helped create what the International Energy Agency described as an enormous supply disruption. Who's really hurt by that? China, big time, because they're already dealing with the Venezuelan lack of oil. Not to mention, the other part of that, and I only got about a minute here because I haven't got into it on the air here. But the other part of Venezuela is China has invested so much into Venezuela, if you remember, the roads projects and all that, knowing they could never pay it back, which meant they had every intention eventually of taking the proceeds from the oil or just taking the oil or other things. And Trump totally took that chess piece off the board. Screws up China big time, because they're not going to get a dime of that oil. It's just not going to happen. Folks, we're going to take our mid-show break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Oh, sorry, Ken, I see you're on the phone. Go right to you when we get back on the other side of the break. Back in 2 minutes, 10 seconds, folks. Stick with us.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Mild today with highs in the 50s and a mix of sun and clouds. Late tonight, we've got some spotty showers that will last into the Thursday morning commute. Most of tomorrow is going to end up being dry with highs in the 60s. Keep in mind, we will see another wave of some steadier rain Thursday night into Friday morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Gaitan Family Farms brings you terrific farm-to-table coffee from Guatemala's volcanic soils and the world's finest regions. Bold, aromatic, sustainably grown beans picked and shipped straight to you for ultimate freshness. Crafted by third-generation farmer Silas Gaitan, it's coffee with heritage. Free shipping on all orders. Shop now at gaitanfarms.com and taste the difference.
This is Joe Mangiacotti, and for our WCRN listeners, we have a shortcut, bestcupofjoe.com. One word, bestcupofjoe.com. Gaitan Farms Coffee. It's fantastic coffee.
The best Italian cuisine served by some of the nicest folks you'll ever meet is at Ziti's Italian Trattoria. It's fine Italian cooking at the Speedway Shopping Center, 290 Turnpike Road in Westboro. It's like sitting down with your family for an authentic home-cooked Italian meal. From intimate dinners to catering for events of all sizes. From pizzas and calzones to classic Italian dinners. Every meal at Ziti's is one you'll remember. Head on down to Ziti's, 290 Turnpike Road in Westboro.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the second half of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you, folks, for the time that we have left together, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. The text line, 617-297-8388. The funny thing is, it's kind of hopping since I talked a little bit about Mark Wayne Mullen in Cherokee Nation and First Native Americans. So I've gotten several texts in. Tom from New Hampshire, right? Could Elizabeth Warren be reached for comment on the first Native American senator? As long as she gets those 0% loans from Harvard, and a few other texts to address that. That's the way you do it, folks. But yeah, I wonder how she feels about that. Funny stuff. 508-871-7000. Let me go to the phones. Ken, I missed it. I guess you were on for a little while. Sorry about that, man. What say you?
No problem, Joe. I just wanted to follow up on Mark's comments. You know, things are happening so fast. Today's news is comparative to like months ago.
Yeah, really.
So like literally, I threw out the Carg Island back a couple weeks ago, and no, that's not what's happening. And actually, I don't think there is going to be a military action in the Persian Gulf. The way things are happening so fast. Because the good news is maybe we do have somebody who could make things better in Iran without a lot of people dying or a lot of more bombs going off. I speak of Parliament Speaker Salaba.
Yeah, he used to be an IRGC commander or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or still is. Yeah. So I think that's the guy that they keep referencing. I think we're talking to the right guy now.
Correct.
But here's my feeling on that, Ken.
Is the Islamic Revolution 47 years ago, Khomeini, that was, you know, where the really ugly parts of this regime, that term is tossed around. Well, you have to break apart, you know, different governments and the function and all that. And this one was very unique in that it was, you know, all out to kill us and Israel. And they just chanted it over and over and over again. And the IRGC, by the hierarchy, had it to follow their orders. Well, no more. Not only did Khomeini get knocked out, but the other clerics, and who knows what the cardboard box image of his son is doing these days, but they basically don't have power anymore.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing that has transpired in this past month. And as a result, the IRGC basically is running the show in some fragmented condition. And guess what? A guy who is actually the Parliament Speaker, kind of the equivalent of Mike Johnson, and has IRG connections, is, it would appear by default, the guy that's calling the show. And I think a lot's happened in the past week where we've got over 30 nations all in coalition. Basically, everybody's against them, and this guy still has enough going on in the brain to say, whoops, okay, let's make a deal.
So here's a couple things, Ken. I've seen some of the videos that have gotten out. It's so hard to get any video from citizens or people out of there because of the internet situation. But I did see some of these platforms where they had some video that got out in the IRGC are actually, some of them are on the roof and standing in the background, not busting heads or arresting anybody. They've actually video of these, you know, which formerly they would have just put anybody down with any kind of dissension. They're actually sometimes waving in some of these videos. And the other part of this is their government was run, and still, as far as we know, still run by the religion, all right, not secular. When you're dealing with religious fanatics, and if they're in charge, that means they're in charge of the military, the police, the secret police, all of that. And that's always been, that's going to be the problem, is because the religion that they're basing everything off of happens to be Islam, which says it's got to be in every home. It's got to spread. You're allowed to lie to infidels, kill infidels, a matter of fact, or you got to put that tax on them for not being Muslim. That's got to change, right? That's got to change. So does the regime need to change? They can be very religious people. We've had very religious presidents, and we have very religious members of Congress, but they're all very, various religions. And we have a very strict rule about that, right? Separation of church and state, which says that you can't have a government religion. You can't have one religion imposed on us. You have the freedom to choose any religion you want and practice it, or none at all. That's not what Iran is. You have the church, or their version of the church, running the government. Can that ever be smooth, especially when you're dealing with, the religion of peace? Can that really be it? Where their own Quran says you can do these things? So does the government need to change? And what if we get somebody in there who says, all right, we're not going to do this to our people, and we're not going to, force women to cover head to toe. We're not going to do all of this, how we would, literally interpret the Quran. So we'll lighten up on this. But what happens when another cleric gets in there who's fanatical again? So in other words, if that doesn't change, to me, it's kicking the can down the road again. Because you have a country run by the religion, the fanatical religion, not a happy feel religion.
Joe, it appears like it already has changed. Let me explain.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had Khomeini ruling for 37 years. And literally the IRGC and those closest to him followed what he said, his edicts. The truth is, around late December, there was almost a coup to kill him internally. And his top right-hand man, Larijani, stopped it. And the 86-year-old said, okay, Larijani, you got the keys to the castle. Larijani was basically running the show the last 2 months until he met his ultimate fate last week. And that leaves us to where we are now. All that's left is the IRGC, who is insisting that, we're in control now. Because guess what? A lot of the clerics that you're talking about, they've skedaddled to Oman and other places. They've got the picture. It's like, our gig is over.
Oh, yeah.
And now you've got somebody who we can deal with. Now, maybe he's some degree of a pit bull, right? But we're about to put a leash on him. And a lot of this war.
But again, Ken, anything that's struck up right now, right, is only as effective for the length that Trump is in office or that person is alive in there. Because let's face it, if you've got the fanatic clerics out there, right, that if somebody more moderate and deals with the United States, to those guys, you're dealing with the devil. That's white Satan. So his life is, I wouldn't take a policy. Well, I'd take a policy out if I was named the beneficiary, but I don't think I'd do it if I was the insurance company. Then we're not, knock on wood, I hope we have a Trump-like president for many, many years to come. It passes on to Rubio and Vance and so forth. But what happens when, another Biden or Obama gets in there? So that's all good, but it's all temporary. People die, things change, all temporary. It's just not a you know what I'm saying? I'd be happy if the former, the prince, ascended again or something of that nature. And they went back to kind of the Western type of style. They had a parliament type, you know what I'm saying? When you've got religious fanatics running the government, no matter how reasonable this guy seems to be and how much change they meet, it's all temporary. Because it's still a Muslim country, still being run by clerics.
That doesn't appear to be the case right now.
It is the case. They haven't changed. They're still a Muslim nation, Ken. That doesn't change.
Yes, but the clerics are leaving. And they're out of power or dead.
They're leaving. They're getting the hell out of the way because they don't want a bomb on their head. What I'm saying is, let's say this all happens. It stays fine for two things: for the duration of Trump's office, right? And then maybe for the life of the guy that's there, which, may not last that long when Trump's out of office. So it didn't change permanently. It's a totally temporary change. And I welcome it. Yes, I get it, but it's a Band-Aid. Kicking the can down. It doesn't change. It would have to go back to pre-1979. And then they would have to be on guard and have some kind of treaty with the United States and some kind of protection clause to stop Islamic revolution from rising up again. It would just have to be. Otherwise, you're kidding yourself.
Khomeini was unique in 1979.
Yeah, and he got almost 50 years of tyrannical behavior. I mean, Iran since 1979 was basically the Handmaid's Tale in real life.
Yes, and Khomeini was a unique predecessor to him. That all worked for 47 years. It's over.
So what are you saying, that it could never happen again? Wait a minute. It could never happen again.
It could get worse, but uniquely Khomeini, no. And there's a lot that we can positively for the next 3 years.
I'm happy that President Trump feels like, A, we're talking to the right guy now. B, they sent whatever this mystery gift is. C, that he thinks that something can happen. I'll get into the 15-point plan and the thing after the break. All I'm saying is I just don't trust it. I think it's all temporary unless it goes back to the pre-1979 form of government, period. Against the clock, final word real quick.
This is more like Venezuela. Don't expect perfection.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the call, Ken. Appreciate it. No, I don't. And I think it's another chess piece on the chessboard like Venezuela. And like I said, there was a lot more to Venezuela than we all know, and more than I've covered on this show. And I'm going to try to keep eking out a lot of that stuff that's gone, all the things that are connected to Venezuela. But we're going to take a third and final break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. We'll be back 2 minutes, 10 seconds for the final and fourth.
Are you ready for a change? Do you need a job that works around your schedule? How about driving your own kids to school and getting paid for it? AA Transportation is offering paid CDL training with regular permit classes that get you on the road. They have immediate openings for school bus and van drivers, as well as monitors across several districts. All you need is a good driving record with at least 5 years experience, a clean quarry, the ability to pass a pre-employment drug screening and DOT physical. If you already have a school bus or 7D certificate, join us now and earn up to $30 an hour with guaranteed minimum hours, health and dental benefits, plus a 401k. And for those experienced coach bus drivers out there, we have a position for you too. This is perfect for parents, retirees, or anyone who enjoys being behind the wheel. Call Lori at 774-361-5042. That's 774-361-5042. Start your journey with AA Transportation.
Moving, don't wrestle with it. Bring the muscle. Mighty Movers. Whether it's your home or your business, Mighty Movers delivers fast, careful, professional service you can count on. From apartments to full houses, offices to commercial spaces, they handle every move with precision and care. One call and the heavy lifting is done. Visit mighty2movers.com. That's mighty2movers.com. mighty2movers.com. Or call 978-793-6165. 978-793-6165. Mighty Movers. When it's time to move, move with strength.
Did you know most chicken restaurants fry their food in inflammatory canola oil? At New Chicken, located at 318 Park Avenue, Worcester, Mass., we do things differently. We serve humanely raised, hormone and antibiotic-free chicken, fried in clean, heart-healthy avocado oil. And our golden fries, cooked in old-school, savory beef tallow for unbeatable flavor. No industrial oils, no fake stuff, just craveable comfort food that loves you back. Swing by New Chicken today, where fresh thinking meets mouth-watering indulgence.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the fourth and final segment on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That'll get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Ted's flying the board behind the glass, so he'll take care of that. So Iran has now done what hardliners usually do when pressure is finally applied, and pulling off from conversation with Ken here. So we sent this 15-point ceasefire proposal. It rejected it. It rejected the American ceasefire framework. Iran came back with its own demands, designed to, less to end the war than to reshape the region on Tehran's terms. And they came back with this 5-point counter proposal with an Iranian official saying Tehran would end the war only when it decides to do so, and only when its own conditions are met. Lofty goals for a guy in your position. Go ahead, hang on to that. I don't know when you'll decide that, when every single drone and missile you have has been expended and gone, when all of your energy infrastructure has been bombed and you're basically back in the Stone Age. Maybe you'll decide then, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that shakes out, as they say, right? Look, the key point here, or the opening factor on this, is Iran did not simply say no. It said no and then tried to move the goalposts. They're desperate, man. The Associated Press reported Tehran's demands include reparations, an end to hostilities, and sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that third one is interesting because kind of thought Trump is thinking of that as kind of the international gas station now, that it wasn't going to be something they can turn on and off. They have no control over the spigot. But let's see again, how does that shake out? Meanwhile, it's reported that despite the public rejection line, a senior Iranian official said that the U.S. proposal is still under review and that no formal final response has yet been delivered. That means there is both a propaganda war and a negotiation war happening all at the same time. So you can't reject something out flat and still say, well, we're negotiating on that 15-point that you sent. Trump has been clear. I mean, we've had every president, for the last several presidents before Trump have all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. First president to actually take any action on that. And the fact that when we were in negotiations with Iran up until we bombed them, and the opening comments in those negotiations, we have enough uranium for 11 bombs, by the way. And then now we find out because of Diego Garcia, it's 2,500 miles. And this is, they're diplomats out there propaganding about the fact that, we purposely kept our ability under 2,000 miles for, give everybody a sense of security and peace. They lie. How is that difficult to understand? Everything they talk about, everything they tell us is orchestrated for their purposes to surprise us later, to get away with something. That's the structure. That's how they're built. Now think about what this means in real terms here. The U.S. plan, according to the Washington Post and Reuters, includes sanctions, relief in exchange for major Iranian concessions. So removing the enriched uranium, halting any further enrichment, curbing ballistic missile activity, ending the support for proxy groups. That's a big one. Because Iran has been funding through oil Hezbollah and ISIS and all these proxy terrorist organizations for years. And we've allowed it. We didn't put a stop to it. And don't forget that this mass migration of Islam into the UK and Britain and Germany and the United States. If you haven't figured that out, I got to tell you, it's part of the bigger plan, by the way, guys. There's steps to that. The first was, play the victim. We need safe harbor and all that. Then second phase is start getting Muslims into office, like mayors of London, United States Congress. It's all steps. They've been thought out, planned for many, many years. Also, reopening the Strait of Hormuz. In plain English, Washington's position appears to be stand down, stop enriching, stop arming the region, stop choking the world's oil route, and sanctions relief will become possible. But going back to the conversation with Ken a little in the last segment, anything that is done is all temporary because of the nature of who we're dealing with. And did anybody think in 1979 that Ayatollah Khomeini was going to have this Islamic uprising and then rule with tyranny and violence and terrorism for nearly 50 years? It wasn't on a lot of people's bingo card, guys. So unless things fundamentally change in that country and safeguards are put in place that aren't going to be watered down or retracted by a Barack Obama down the road, this is just waiting to happen again. And what's going on in Iran? So I got a text of World War III. This is not going to result. This is not going to result in World War III. Something else might, but this isn't. And it isn't because nobody's coming to Iran's aid. Nobody's in a position to, nobody wants to. They want the oil. That they like China. They want the oil out of Iran, especially the countries and nations that have been getting it all this time. So they will actually play ball with whoever is controlling the spigot or Crudge Island, right? Trump put it out there. Look, the United States, we produce more oil than Saudi Arabia and Iran combined. We produce more natural gas than the next five. We don't have to worry about being able to produce enough energy for ourselves. This is really affecting other countries. And Trump said it. China, you can buy all the oil you want from us. Russia, for that matter. Because he's looking at the revenue that brings into the American taxpayer. So this is where we should keep our eyes open. There is a difference between diplomacy and extortion. A ceasefire proposal that asks Iran to reduce the means by which it threatens the region is one thing. The counter proposal that effectively says, hey, we stop when we want on terms that strengthen us. And by the way, we want reparations and broader control. Oh, you can get reparations. It's called form and it's a loan or rebuilding. But boy, there are going to be a lot of strings attached. So those things, we want the control, strengthen us, reparations, broader control. That's something very different. More cautious reporting makes clear that Iran publicly called the American terms unacceptable, even while intermediaries continue to, try to keep diplomacy alive there. So the intermediaries, they matter here too. The Washington Post reported that Pakistan and Egypt and Turkey have been involved in passing messages and trying to broker a path forward. Well, Reuters has also pointed out to Pakistan impossible talks there or in Turkey. So this is not some casual back channel rumor. There is a real diplomatic architecture in motion. But the question is whether it is being used to end the war or simply buy time. And buying time, lying to us, being deceitful to buy time is exactly how they operate. Or have you not been paying attention? And because they are a country ruled by their religion actually allows this. And while diplomats shuffle paper and the military side remains active, it's reported that Iran continued strikes across the region as ceasefire stories were breaking. The Pentagon was preparing additional troop deployments amid the uncertainty. Throwback here to the 1082nd Airborne that tells you everything, every public rhetoric is saying. Intermediaries say maybe, military planners say prepare for the worst. And I'm sure there's an end plan to all of this, that the Trump administration has already visualized what Iran will look like in relations will look like, and the oil control will look like, and everything. We just got to do these things and move these pieces around the board to get there. This is why oil markets reacted so sharply to even faint signs of possible talks. Early today, prices eased on the notion that some diplomatic off-ramp might exist. But the market optimism now sits next to a very hard fact pattern here, guys. It's Iran's public stance remains maximalist, and it depends, as being reported, to go far beyond a normal ceasefire. So the market, well, that market wants peace, but Tehran appears to want an advantage and money. Bottom line, the Epoch Times headline is correct on the central point. Iran rejected the U.S. proposal, issued its own terms, but the deeper takeaway for the show here is the conflict has not reached a clean diplomatic breakthrough. It has reached the stage where one side is testing whether war pressure can be converted into negotiating leverage. That means caution, folks. That means skepticism. And that means nobody should confuse public counterproposal with actual progress unless there's real movement on the core issues. Well, this has to wrap up the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Have a fantastic day. Back tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, folks. But that'll wrap it up for me. So, Joe, out.